Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. This is the big one. The Premier League preview brought to you by BetMate, the fantasy football app. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger.
This is a crate of fruit coming from Brazil, this game, isn't it? Because it's got the word banana skin written all over it.
Nice. Nicely done there.
Just thought about that.
Yeah. I thought you meant it because it might have a spider in that scares you.
Nope, the banana skin thing. This is a game that's between two mega games.
Yeah.
You've got City that we've already won. You've got Arsenal on Sunday.
Yeah.
This game is the one where you go, get past Palace, rest a couple of players, ready for Arsenal, and then you go, shit, we've lost 2-1.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that we have to be just 100% focused on.
Completely agree. The euphoria of Saturday afternoon cannot carry us through forever. We have to focus on this one, and we can't be too distracted by the trip to the current league leaders, Arsenal, at the weekend as well. So this is a difficult game against the side who can turn up and do have some very good players, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But, Joe, if we've got Luke, I'm sure we'll win, because he's been phenomenal, hasn't he? Don't give me dirty looks. You made the crate joke, so I can say what I want.
Great point. I think he's phenomenal. I think when he's at his best, and we've been saying this for 8 years now, however long he's been at United, when he's at his best, he's one of, if not the most talented players in the squad, I think. I keep saying
never an issue, is it?
No, but his touch is phenomenal. His ability under pressure is phenomenal. He's one of those players that, do you know, certain players, you can tell how hard they're thinking. Everything's like they've got this like intense thought process that is almost visible on their face.
Like they're doing long division in the rep.
Yeah, Gary Neville was a perfect example of that.
Gary Cahill was good at that.
Gary Cahill's another one. Yeah, you know, any of the Garys. Speed, Gary Cottrell. But Luke Shaw is the sort of player that he plays with this like chin up view of the pitch where things are just happening. Like, he's just entering this world and everything's going in slow motion for him almost. Yeah. There's no like, okay, what like Wan-Bissaka sometimes on the ball, you can see him going, what now? Whereas Luke Shaw is just effortless. Yeah. It's the word I keep coming back to with Luke Shaw, because when he's at his best, he is effortless. Everything works for him. You can't believe how he's got through that gap or how he's found that pass or how he's got back and caught his man up. He's just got a sort of floating sort of presence in the squad when he's at his best, and he's at his best at the minute. And I honestly think that he's one of the most important players in this team. He's consistently at the top of the list for most passes in games. He's consistently, when you see the touch maps and the passing maps where you can see who forged the most sort of passing links between players. Luke Shaw is consistently one of the most sort of the players that other people rely on to get them out of trouble all the time. He's just such an integral part of this team, and I think we underrate how good he is at his best because we over the years we haven't seen it enough. But when we are seeing it, you can't help but think, you know, he's just a brilliant player, isn't he?
He is just a brilliant player, and the sort of surprising thing for me has been, because we've always known he's had it in him, it's just consistency, and there's times when I've seen some of the best performances by a left-back in recent years from Luke Shaw, and I've seen some of the worst. Yeah. But once he is consistent, there's no doubt in the idea that, or the sort of suggestion that he's, you know, one of the best left backs in the country, because he is. Yeah. What's impressed me is the fact he's been shifted in centre back at times and has done superbly there, to the point now where he's keeping Harry Maguire out of the team. Yeah. If Martinez isn't fit, then it's Luke Shaw. It's not Harry Maguire or even Victor Lindelof, I think, if he's available. We know what Shaw could do. Another player who has probably had more praise over the last few years than Luke Shaw, because he's been a bit of a revelation when he came in, was Bruno Fernandes. Now, his numbers in terms of goals and assists has dropped off, but he's filling this different role in the team, as not just a captain, because Harry Maguire seldom starts, but also more of an 8. Player that can get a foot in, get stuck in, got a great engine. We'll see more to him than just goals, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And I think that he's the word discipline is a word that I would never have really associated with Bruno Fernandes. He seemed to be a player that played on instinct and on sort of almost bravery at times. You think, why is he, like, sometimes it's how has he managed that, and sometimes it's why has he gone for that. They were the two things that I thought most often about Bruno. Yeah. Whereas this season, he's a more predictable, a more disciplined player, and I mean that in a good way, because I think he's now taking the word of the manager and taking the system that has been implemented, and he's doing things properly. Like, one thing I didn't see at the weekend against Manchester City, and this is a sort of micro version of the season as a whole, I didn't see him sprinting past Martial to close Ederson down. I didn't see him out of position defensively because he's playing left back because he doesn't trust Marcia. These are the sorts of things he would do time after time after time last season. And sometimes you think, why is he the only one pressing by himself? But other times you sit there and you go, you're out of position now because you didn't have the discipline to say, this is how we're doing it. We're sitting back a little bit. We're allowing people to press from the front. I'm going to mark my man. I'm going to stay in my spot. And he does that so much more often now. When there's someone free on the right-hand side and he's got a shot 20 yards out, he doesn't take that shot anymore, which 1 in 10 times would have got him a goal over the last few seasons. He plays it into the space. He plays it to Anthony or to Rashford on the other side, or he does the right thing more often. And I think he's still a brilliant player that still is allowed to use his instincts, and he still comes up with the goods more often than not. But I really think that we're seeing a disciplined and controlled version of Bruno Fernandes, and I think that's one of the reasons we're winning. He's not getting the same numbers, but he's the heart of that attack still. Everything goes through him. Watch any of United's highlights over the last sort of 2 or 3 months. He's always playing either the pass into the goal or the pass before the pass into the goal. He's integral to everything at the minute.
No, I completely agree. And, you talk about leaders and things like that, and he is that guy. He does argue with the ref, which I quite like.
Yeah.
He's always been like that in terms of shouting at people. Not in a sort of over-the-top negative way, but he seems like someone who's, his passion is almost infectious.
Yeah.
And he's a player that I've loved ever since he's come to Old Trafford, and I'm grateful we've got him because I think, there's a reason he plays almost every minute of every game under Erik ten Hag. He's vital. With all that being said, talk us through your Predicts 11, because the sort of the big talking point is Wout Weghorst. He could be coming in, but talk us through your team anyway.
Yeah, I think the sort of the back 8 kind of picks itself almost. The only question would be Eriksen over Fred.
Yeah.
And I've gone with Fred because I thought Eriksen looked a little bit leggy against City.
I agree.
And I thought that in the later stage of that game, and I think that he will be crucial for the Arsenal game.
Yeah.
But if that is if he picks Eriksen over Fred, I think then Eriksen over Fred, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just like that intensity, that work rate, and I know away at Crystal Palace at times it can be one of those games where things just pass you by and they're counter-attacking quickly and they've got good players on the break, and someone like Fred can be good in those situations. The other one obviously is no Rashford, and that is purely an injury thing. I think he might well start. Again, it's one of those toss of a coin things, but he looked like something went wrong the other day against City. He was holding, I couldn't tell if it was the top of his groin or it was like the front of his hip. I'm not sure what it was, but he was holding it for about 5 minutes. Then he went down on the ground around the 40th minute mark. Then he got back up and was walking gingerly until half-time, barely sprinted again.
I stand near the tunnel.
Yeah.
And he didn't walk down the tunnel naturally.
No.
He was like hobbling a little.
Exactly. And we were sat in the other corner from the tunnel, literally right across the other side of the pitch where Rashford was. And he wasn't right from about the 35th minute onwards, basically when he had that chance where Ederson came and closed him down.
Yeah.
From then until half-time, he looked knackered to me, and I thought he was going to come off. He didn't. But in the second half, it wasn't that same free-flowing, sprinting Marcus Rashford. So I think there's something going on there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start. So I've gone with Garnacho. But other than that, Weghorst, Martial's not been good enough, and he looks injured as well. Yeah,
he looks a bit goosed, didn't he? I think it felt a little bit pre-planned to give him 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe you have 45 minutes in you against City, because despite the fact that there wasn't the energy there, I still think if Martial is fit, he'd have played longer than 45 minutes. It's quite rare for a player under Erik ten Hag to get subbed at half-time. So it did feel like that it was like a case of give me 45 minutes and then we'll sub you off. You've explained the Marcus Rashford thing, so I understand where you're coming from on that one. And I do agree on Christian Eriksen. First half did have some good passes. I'm not saying it was a bad performance against City, but second half you could see he looked a little bit knackered. Yeah. He's played a lot of football, Christian Eriksen, under Erik ten Hag. We'll move on to my team. Very similar. Just the one change. Yeah. Basically, you think Rashford's fit? I think Rashford's fit. Yeah. I think he's, I understand he wasn't quite at the top end of his sprints and stuff, but he's still had a bit of energy in him. Yep. And I think, a couple of days since the City game, I think he'll be good up for this one. And I think we need him as well. I think we do. I know we've got half an eye on Arsenal, but we do need Marcus Rashford. He's on fire for a reason. I like you. I think Weghorst comes in for Martial because I don't think he's 100%. There was a slight question here over whether Erik ten Hag risks Casemiro. I just wanted to bring that up for anyone who doesn't know. I think it's the first 9 games of the season. If he reaches it 5 bookings, you get a suspension. This is going to be our 9th game. If he gets a booking, he'll get a suspension. Yeah. So it's a massive gamble here, because if we lost him for the Arsenal game, that is going to be devastating. Yeah. But I still feel that you can't, for me, you can't take this game for granted.
No.
And I think you need Casemiro for this game. If he's available, pick him, because Palace are a tough team. They've got some good players. It's been, as you said earlier, a bit of a banana skin for us in the past, where you know, we've had some good results at Selhurst Park, don't get me wrong, but it can be one of those tricky grounds.
Yep.
So I would go with the sort of the strongest midfield available if everyone's fit. Like you say, Eriksen just a bit of a rest. And also, Fred did very well against Manchester City, so I don't think there's any sort of worry there. If Fred starts, you go, oh my God, what is going on?
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, he did really well. He really impressed me. And I expect Lisandro Martinez, as if you mentioned earlier, to come back in, because I think it was just he didn't have enough minutes in his legs, as Pep Guardiola would say, for the derby. But who'd have thought we would say this? It didn't matter because Luke Shaw was there.
Yeah, ridiculous.
With all that being said, should we look at the opposition?
Yes.
Yes. Now, this preview is brought to you by BetMate. So before we get into opposition, I'm going to talk a little bit about BetMate, because that is the fantasy football app where you can play as part of a community or against your friends. You can win money, which me and you have done, can't you? Because you won money on the last game, so did I. You've also won £200.
I won the big boy jackpot against Tottenham.
You won the big boy jackpot against Tottenham.
I also won 27 quid against City.
You also won 27
I
quid against City. I won money against City as well, not quite 27 quid, but I won money, which, considering my record of taking part in these games, is pretty impressive. You've always been going on about the fact you won the jackpot, which annoys me, but if you take part in a paid pot, you use the code Paddock10, there's a link in the description, then you too can win money. You too can have also a free game. Is it a free £10 bet if you use the code Paddock10, and that'll give you a chance to play in that game and have the opportunity to win yourself some money. Let's have a look. Should we have a look first at our BetMate teams, and then we'll get into the opposition? So this is your BetMate team.
Yeah. You have to pick. You can only pick 6 from one team. So I've gone 6 United players. I have put Rashford in this because I think
that makes no sense.
Well, it does, and I'll tell you why. Because, like I said before, I think it might be a toss of a coin whether he's fit or not.
Right.
And points-wise, I think it's worth going for that over anyone else in the United team.
Do you know what as well?
Because I don't think Anthony will score.
You can change it up to 5 minutes before
exactly.
kickoff. So if he's not in the squad, or he's not starting, you can change it. You don't have to. There's not a cut-off point an hour before kickoff.
So I can see if he's not starting, I'll change him. But Rashford is, if he is playing, you're going to want him, aren't you? Who have you gone for?
Let's have a look at my team. You can see my team here. I think Rashford will play. I put him as captain. That makes a difference in this. Having someone, because it's only 7 aside. If you've got a player who scores and he's not your captain, and then you've got someone else who's got an identical team and he is the captain, that can make a difference between you not winning or winning some money. So I've gone with Rashford. I've also got in my team Wilfried Zaha, which we're going to get onto in a second, because he might have a point to prove against Manchester United. His former club didn't work out for him at Old Trafford by any stretch of the imagination. He is a bit of a live wire, and he could cause us some problems, even though I still think, with the defence and the midfield we've got, we should be too strong. But go and check out BetMate. Paddock10, you take part in a paid game, use the code Paddock10, link in the description, you get a free £10 bet to play on the other games, whether that's against your friends or part of the BetMate community. Now, I mentioned Wilfried Zaha. I want to talk a little bit about him. He's having a decent season, isn't he?
He's a top scorer, isn't he?
He's a top scorer. He's not setting the world alight.
No. I think it's 6 goals in 17 appearances for Zaha.
So it's not like it's like, oh my gosh, Wilfried Zaha is absolutely carrying Crystal Palace to the top of the table, but he's having a pretty solid season, and he's one of those players who, on his day, can cause anyone problems.
Yeah, he's very much a confidence player, and I think we saw that even at United, that we saw the version of him with the least confidence he's probably ever had, and he looked, surplus to requirements.
I thought we handled it so badly.
Yeah, me too. But I just
everything about it. Yeah, just sort of he moved up from London. There was no one looking after him. He was stuck in Bramall, I think, on his own. He was dropped just randomly. It wasn't great. But yeah,
he's the one to watch out for.
I hope he has a performance of Crystal Palace like he used to have for Manchester United when he did play, because he didn't really do much for us, did he? But to be fair, he didn't get much of an opportunity. All the stats on the BetMate app are powered by Opta as well. Yeah. So you can see there, if you've got some stats there about Wilfried Zaha, use Opta stats on the BetMate app, so you get points for stuff like interceptions and tackles. It's worth bearing that in mind. With all we've been through, what's the score going to be?
We're not going to win forever. We can't just win every game between now and the season. I'm weighing up, do we drop points in this one or the Arsenal game? And I think it will probably be the Arsenal game. Okay. I think we'll draw that. Yeah. So I think we'll win this. I'm going to go 2-0.
Yeah.
Ayu's always a bit of a tricky customer. I had him in my betmate team. He's just one of those players that isn't very good, but just scores goals. How does he keep doing this? He's not fast. He's not good in the air. He's not a great finisher. He's nothing. But he scored again. So I've gone. I think I'll go 2-1 actually.
I'll go 3-0. And I thank everyone. I think Weghorst gets off the mark.
I'd love that.
Hey?
I'd absolutely love that.
Him and Marcus to get the goals. That's my prediction. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know your prediction, your team prediction. Don't forget as well to go and check out the BetMate. There's a link in the description using the code Paddock10. Joe, where can people find you?
On the Sloppy Joe's podcast, new episode out today at 5 o'clock. Go and check that out.
Go and check them guys out. Very, very funny. You know where to find me as well. So make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Hit like, share, and subscribe. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been the Crystal Palace preview. Thanks for watching.